When Lewis Hamilton announced his move to Ferrari, the entire Formula One world lit up with excitement. The seven-time world champion, the record-breaking man, the driver who rewrote the history of the most important motorsport category, ready to wear red and chase the world title dream with the Prancing Horse. Fans expected fireworks, magic on track, duels with Max Verstappen, and why not, an internal rivalry with Charles Leclerc worthy of the Alain Prost, Ayrton Senna era. And yet, nothing. The early stages of the 2025 Formula One Championship have delivered a lackluster Lewis Hamilton, often struggling and constantly behind his Maranello teammate. The car is the same, of course, but the approach seems completely different. While Charles Leclerc appears to interpret the SF25 effortlessly, the British driver struggles, complaining of too much understeer, poor feeling, and an inability to manage the tires. Classic symptoms of a tricky car, one that the Monegasque knows how to handle, but Lewis Hamilton does not. For the Maranello engineers and technicians, questions quickly arose. Is it a matter of adaptation, driving style, communication with the engineers? Some even mentioned issues with the simulator. There are those who suggest that Lewis Hamilton, used to a docile Mercedes during the golden years, cannot adapt his approach, and others who point out that the SF25, to perform at its best, must be driven the Charles Leclerc way, with surgical precision and great mechanical sensitivity at corner entry. Analyses abound. Differences in brake system management, tire activation, inability to use engine braking effectively. Some even bring up his private life, stress, the pressure of having to win at all costs with the most iconic team in motorsport. Yet, none of these explanations are entirely convincing. Even with all the technical tools available, such lackluster performances remain difficult to explain. Across the triple header of Japan, Bahrain, and Saudi Arabia, the mood and demeanor of the seven-time Formula One world champion were often downbeat as he struggled to adapt to the Ferrari now underneath him, culminating in the astonishing claim after a lowly seventh-place finish at the Jeddah Corniche circuit last Sunday that the pain could continue for the rest of the 2025 Formula One season before a solution is found. It was not meant to be like this. Following a 10th-place finish on his Ferrari debut at the Albert Park circuit in the tricky Australian Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton made a genuine breakthrough in China by scooping the sprint pole position and win, remarkably his first in the format. It was vintage Lewis Hamilton, seemingly an indication that his dark days with Mercedes were behind him. Unfortunately, no. Since then, it has all been downhill, and the avalanche is showing no signs of slowing as it careers down the mountain. Across the first 5 races, including the sprint, Lewis Hamilton has been outqualified by his Maranello teammate 4-2 with an average deficit to the Monegasque in these 6 sessions of 0.251 seconds. Charles Leclerc's grid average is 4.6, Lewis Hamilton's 6.3, although for Grand Prix alone, this becomes 7.4 for the Briton and 4.8 for his Maranello teammate. In races, Lewis Hamilton has only beaten Charles Leclerc once, in the sprint. He is yet to finish ahead in a GP, with the Briton 31 seconds behind the Monegasque in Jeddah last time out. As Charles Leclerc is regarded as the fastest driver over a single lap, being a quarter of a second behind him is not terrible. It could be argued that Lewis Hamilton is simply unlucky that the field spread is so narrow, meaning the gap is being exposed as cars squeeze in between, something that could be masked with a wider performance window between the field. Despite the fact that the SF25 single-seater is by no means perfect, as Charles Leclerc showed once again last weekend in Saudi Arabia, and indeed Lewis Hamilton in the China sprint race, that it is a car capable of fighting for pole positions and victories. Lewis Hamilton has said the overall package is not terrible, but that he is just not comfortable with the car lacking balance. In general, Lewis Hamilton has not found the ground effect machines introduced in 2022 to his liking. Since their debut, 72 races ago, he has just 1 Grand Prix pole and 2 wins, to go with the sprint pole position and win in China. In contrast, in the final 72 races of the previous rules cycle that he contested from France 2018 to Abu Dhabi 2021, he scored 29 GP poles and 39 wins, to go with a single sprint pole position. Now, of course, much of that has to do with Mercedes getting the ground effect rules badly wrong. But there is something more fundamental at play. Lewis Hamilton simply does not get on with the ground effect cars. The way these cars need to be driven is at odds with his driving style, which has been honed for over 30 of his 40 years as a racing driver. It boils down to this. Lewis Hamilton's approach has always been to brake hard, brake late, and turn in sharply in what is known as V-ing the corner. But the current cars, by their very nature, are heavy and prone to understeer, which means this is not the best way to carry the highest possible minimum speed through the apex. In order to achieve that with ground effect cars, a driver must brake slightly earlier and effectively roll the car through the corner, known as U-ing, to carry a higher minimum speed. As the saying goes, you spend far more time and lose a lot more in a slow or medium-speed corner than in a fast one. Is it any wonder, therefore, that some of his best performances since 2022 have been at fast-flowing tracks such as Australia's Albert Park, Spain's Circuit de Catalunya, or at Silverstone, the only track at which he has been on the podium every year in this era of Formula One? As for the Ferrari SF25, the British driver is also battling a severe case of muscle memory after spending 18 seasons using Mercedes power. Engine braking is a key part of the Ferrari power unit, something Hamilton has explained was never required with the Mercedes units. He is having to unlearn 12 seasons of turbo-hybrid engine settings he could probably change in his sleep. That takes time. The car has also been run with higher ride heights as Ferrari battles problems between the aerodynamic and vehicle dynamic platforms. Upgrades have been, and will be, delivered to solve this and bring the SF25 back into the narrow performance window Lewis Hamilton unlocked at the Shanghai International Circuit. So what do the numbers tell us by analyzing all the qualifying sessions this season? Looking at the fastest sector times from the two Ferrari drivers. Largely the pair are closely matched. Leclerc is ahead for the most part, with Hamilton a tenth here or there behind. Only in a couple of places have there been chasms between the two. These came in Sector 2 in Australia, where Lewis Hamilton struggled with the high-speed flick of Turn 6 and trailed by 0.198 seconds, in Sector 1 in Japan by 0.4 seconds, and in Bahrain, where Charles Leclerc enjoyed a 0.350 seconds advantage through the second sector, over half of the 0.597 seconds gap between the pair. Bahrain's middle segment is an interesting case study. It features high-speed flicks, sharp rotations, heavy braking, and big traction zones. It is what makes Scuderia such a strong testing track, a little bit of everything. After qualifying in Bahrain, what Hamilton didn't say should have sounded the Maranello alarm bells. Lewis Hamilton admitted that he really did not know and did not have many answers for the media. When a driver says he does not know why he is so slow, that is worrying. If the Briton had instead explained that he was struggling with the brakes and had zero confidence, or that the car was strong, but he simply made a mistake, then it would have been clear what needed to be addressed. For a driver to offer no idea why he has just been soundly beaten is a concern. Ferrari boss Frederic Vasseur is emphatically behind the Briton, giving him his 2,000% backing, and that given time, Lewis Hamilton will iron out his severe teething troubles and start to deliver more consistently. But there is also one inescapable truth, one that claims every athlete in the end. The 7-time Formula One world champion is not the force he once was. You simply cannot be at 40 years old, no matter how good or successful you may have been in the past. Lewis Hamilton might have defeated Fernando Alonso, Nico Rosberg, and Sebastian Vettel during his career. But eventually, like every great athlete before, old Father Time will come knocking and Hamilton's number will be up. Delaying that for as long as possible is his last great challenge in F1.